The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, March 26th, 2025, Season 21, Episode number 3. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at lg.com/OLED Evo. Welcome to the show. Glad to have everybody here. We've got a lot we're going to talk about today. We're going to start a little position series today and talk about each position from the standpoint of now seeing what the Cowboys have done through most of free agency. As we know, free agency continues really all the way through training camp and beyond. But what they've done so far through in free agency, where they stand, the players they've lost and gained. We'll talk about each position from the standpoint of where they are and what they still need to do with the draft, what they still may even need to do in free agency to get themselves ready to be able to play at their best level coming into the season. Today, we're going to focus on two positions, quarterback and safety. Before we do that, though, I wanted to start first by just getting an overall view from each of you on what you think of the Cowboys. If you had to grade what they've done so far in free agency, how would you grade their overall performance in free agency as far as getting themselves ready to be able to do the things they need to do in the draft to be ready for the season? Let's start with you, Nick.
I'd give it a soft B if I could.
Soft B.
Soft B. Not a strong B.
I've never heard of soft B, but I like it.
Strong B.
Okay,
What school did you go to?
Would that be a B minus? Is that what you're saying?
See, but it's not B minus. It's
Then it's just
like,
a B.
I'm going like if you were to grade it on the scale like an 83, you know, like it's not a B minus.
What
but
kind
it's
of
not necessarily
student were you, Nick?
A soft B.
A soft B.
A soft B to it. But yeah, I would say in that sense, just because they added depth, and we certainly saw last season that they needed depth at a lot of positions whenever injuries came about. Now, you hope that injuries don't hit that hard again in 2025, but you hope to be a little bit more prepared if they do. And they did add an impact pass rusher in Dante Fowler. He's a guy who has the upside to be a starter for you next season and be a double-digit sack guy. At the very least, he's a violent rotational rusher that can bring you some presence in the pass rush game. So I liked the addition of Javonte Williams. I think he'd be a perfect complementary back if they do add. They still need to add a strong early down back. And if they're able to pair one with Williams, then that's going to look like a pretty solid addition. But you look at guys like Solomon Thomas, even Robert Jones, Jack Sanborn, Kenneth Murray. This is all a reliable, experienced depth that this team needs moving forward. That's why I'd give it a soft B. If the reason I don't give it an A, there wasn't a strong splash, right? There wasn't a huge impact player at receiver. I still believe that they have a big problem at corner. Even adding Kyer Elam, I think there's still a big problem there. You're going to have to do some things to figure that out, but it's definitely been worse in years past.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to go in a couple of different ways here. I'm going to give an A for this reason on the going out and using trades and free agency together. You know, this is something, and now the draft will be the third item that will come into play here. There was a time where this team was only draft dependent, and they went out and maybe by design that they knew that they couldn't replace all the depth. But the fact that they went out and used the player personnel, they talk about 24/7 all the time around here. They traded, they signed, and now they're about to draft. So I'm going to give them an A for doing what you're supposed to do that way. I'm going to give them a C for the players that they've got. And I think there's some players that I think they've got some players that are better than hole fillers. I think where they're at running back, and I like what Nick's saying about Williams at the running back situation, but I think they've addressed the running back room and that area by the coaches they've hired. I don't think they've helped themselves, particularly with the players. Let's see if the third phase of what I'm giving them an A for of that draft brings them that running back. I like the coaches and what they've done in the offseason as far as getting those guys, but I felt like they really didn't address that very well with the two players that they brought in. We'll see if that's the case. I'd also like to see him maybe have looked at a veteran receiver. And I'm not just talking about Paris Campbell. I'm talking about maybe if they'd have gone out and got some. Maybe the market didn't allow that. A, for execution and plan. C, right now for the players they've attained.
So average about a B.
Soft B.
Soft B. That's going to be the title of this show. Soft B.
B.
Amber.
Mine is just a B. Plain B with no soft or hardness to it. Just a B. Okay. No, but I think to me this season, and I've said it before, it feels completely different than years past as far as what they've used to do, what they're used to doing. This year, I mean, previous years, I feel like we would be sitting first week chilling, and we in the media, like waiting for news to come and signings to happen, and nothing would happen. We would wait until that second wave, and then that's when they would tend to start signing guys. I think this year they started being a lot more proactive in making moves. Now, when you start looking at those moves and those players, just like Bryan said, to me, you start pulling some of those names. They're pretty solid guy with veteran experience that you feel like, yes, they're gonna come in here and bring some impact in one way or another. But some of those other guys, you start looking at them and taking a deeper dive into their history and recent history and statistics. Statistics.
Statistics.
Very different. Yeah.
Yes.
Very different.
But you start looking at that and you're like, okay, well, this doesn't look very, very impressive. But again, it's hard to tell right now, Derek, because you still don't know what this coaching staff is actually going to do. You hope that they have a different vision and something that's going to be a lot more effective this year. So I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. At least they made moves, external moves. And it wasn't just signing their own. It was going out and making those, bringing new guys in that come with a different background. And with those signings, with internal signings, I think they did as best as they could. One of the guys that I hate that we lost was Jordan Lewis. But other than that, I think they highly focused on key players that I think add the continuity to the team, and also their guys that are going to continue to contribute and also fight for a spot here. But overall, I think they did a pretty solid job. Last year, I would have given them a C. This year, I think they've moved up to a B.
Yeah, for me, I look at it and I think this is a 2-year thing. What I mean by that is I think last year they lost a lot of players. They hemorrhaged players, but they didn't really replace a lot of that. Yeah. And I think this year what we're seeing is they lost a few more this year, but they really went out to get a solid base of guys. Yeah. These are not going to be your guys who you're going to next year we're going to be on Sundays like, oh my God, this guy made the great play. I don't think that's what these guys necessarily are, other than maybe a Dante Fowler. I think more of what we will see is these will be the guys that will be your mainstay, solid guys. Some of them in backup roles. Some of them may have opportunities where they start due to injury. Some may start the beginning of the season. I think they will be guys that will be good and they'll be solid. And that's what they needed to replenish on this team, because they do have some stars on this team. Last year, what we found is they just didn't have the depth because they lost all of it. This offseason, to me, is about reestablishing that depth, getting those solid guys that can just fill the holes. And now the hope, at least, I would guess, and I would think their plan is that they will get some of those splash guys in the draft. Whoever they select in round 1, in round 2, maybe in round 3. Maybe you can get guys that can come in and immediately make an impact on your team and provide some of those splash-type moments that you're really going to need, in addition to the players you already have, who are those splash-type players, your CeeDee Lambs, your Micah Parsons. I think that's the way I look at this offseason. And from that standpoint, I would give them a B. I don't know about a soft B, but I give them a B.
Okay.
I think this thing's going to come down to how well these linebackers play. If you look at with Sanborn and then you also look with Murray, that's going to be really key. Can you get the same play or maybe even a little bit better play than what you got from Eric Kendricks? Mm-hmm. There's so many questions right now at linebacker with Overshown. Leofau seems to be, if you ask anybody in the hey, give me your breakout player for 2025. Everybody's going to mention Leofau is what they're going to do. And I think that, if you saw some flashes of him last year, but he can't shoulder this thing by himself. This free agency period, though, that they went through, if Sanborn and Murray show up and play well, they did a really, really nice job in that area.
Well, I was just going to ask you guys, what do you think happened with Kendricks?
I think it's a situation where Kendricks is just he's bathed himself in that Zimmer scheme.
Yeah.
And they needed somebody who could come in and be a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Fit for the Eberflus scheme. And Kenneth Murray is that. Jack Sanborn for sure is that. Sanborn's probably the future at that position if you had to imagine after Kenneth Murray. That's the hope at least. And I certainly think he has the talent to do that. I think Eric Kendricks will land on his feet somewhere, but I think it'll be probably in a scheme that's more fit to what he's been used to over the course of his career.
Yeah. One of the things, to that point that you were making, Brian, I think I look at this team and they have a lot of players who are relatively young, who are kind of question marks for them. Guys like Sam Williams, guys like Marshawn Nealon, Leofau you mentioned, Mozzie, Kalen Carson. I think what this offseason did is it allowed them to be able to continue to develop those guys but not be beholden to them, right? You don't get into a situation where if you want Kalen Carson to really keep developing and you give him that opportunity, if he doesn't perform, you're now not stuck. You have an Elam that you can maybe throw out there and say, he's more of a veteran guy that we can throw out there. He has some experience. We can put him out there and feel better about what he can do. But it doesn't slow the progress of somebody like a Kalen Carson. Same things with Sam Williams. Same thing with Marshawn Nealon. You have the question marks. You want to give them the opportunity, but if they don't make it, if they can't do it, you got a Dante Fowler. So I just think that's what I love about this offseason. They've given themselves the ability to let those young guys continue to develop. If they don't, they're guys that are steady guys they can put in there, and they're not losing a ton.
They might have upgraded at pass rusher with Fowler over Tank. And we all love Tank for what he's done, but let's be honest, though, the run play, the instincts, those things that's his calling card. But at one time, he was a double-digit sack guy. Mm-hmm. You just signed a double-digit sack guy is what you did in free agency. So that should help you going forward.
Yep.
Did they put maybe a little too much pressure on having to hit on the first 2 days in the draft, though? By having
you think right now?
Right now, yeah. By not getting an impact starter at receiver, by not getting a starter at corner, by still leaving some holes in depth at defensive tackle. I think you can make a case that you need another guy for depth at offensive tackle. Yeah. I just wonder if there's maybe a little too much pressure on having to hit on those guys.
I think that Nick, that you and I have studied this thing pretty extensively now. We're getting down to the home stretch. Where the board looks like to me it has depth as at defensive tackle, and the board looks like it's got some depth at wide receiver, depending on what kind you want,
and running back as well, right?
And running back as well. But that's what I'm saying. I think that the players they grab in those first 3 picks, I think they'll all. I could say this with some certainty. I think they're all going to contribute in year one. We've seen some in the past where the last couple of drafts that necessarily hasn't been the case. But I have a feeling with this group that they're about to select the first 3 rounds for sure. Give me some hope that, man, hey, if they hit the right guys, that all these guys are capable of coming in and being starters for you, and that's absolutely what they need.
If it's in those 3 positions.
Yeah, I just worry you head to the 5th round and you still need a rotational defensive tackle, or you still need a running back. Yeah, that's a possibility as well.
There's no way they get to the 5th round. They still haven't gotten a running back, is there?
I would say, man, looking at how the board could fall. I mean, there's a possibility of that.
I would take Mullins in from Michigan would be the guy that I would look at that point.
As a starter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you've kind of walked me through a plan of Mullins, and then also though with Williams as a guy. So I mean, I've got a physical. I mean, Mullins isn't this elusive kind of runner, but he is a physical runner. He protects the football. I mean, he is a converted linebacker. I'm talking if you get down in the 5th round. Hunter from Auburn is another one. I mean, it might be a situation. I mean, maybe you have him a little higher. But I kind of feel like, though, that I could maybe get a starter. Is it perfect? No. I'd love for them to address that thing in the first 3 rounds for sure. But if I had to, I mean, there's some guys on that board I think that might slide through a little bit into the 5th that I have 4th round grades on that might be that give you an opportunity to get a starter out of this thing.
All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back. We'll jump into our position evaluation. We're going to start with the quarterback position. We got lots of questions on Dak Prescott. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's Stay in Your Car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise, the Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take a steak, cornbread, cobbler's pot pie, and potatoes next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said that LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. This segment brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's talk about quarterbacks. I have 3 statements I'm going to roll out for you guys. They are true-false statements. I want to hear whether you think they are true or false. First, they are all regarding Dak Prescott. First, he's still the same quarterback he was in 2023 when he was the runner-up league MVP in voting. True or false?
False.
False.
He's coming off a hamstring injury. That's tough, and it's going to affect his mobility moving forward. How does that mobility manifest in his game? That's going to be the question he has to answer early on. In my opinion, I think that's what makes it different from 2023. They were able to maximize his movement in a way where it didn't put him at risk, but yet it was still able to be an impact offensively for the Cowboys. So. He's going to have to figure out how to, manage that now that he's had another leg injury, quote unquote. So I would say different. He's going to have to manage that for sure. That's the big thing that pops out to me.
What makes me nervous is even when healthy, that wasn't a very good offense, early on. I mean, and then, the defense wasn't great either. And as a team, they weren't great. They got blown out in a lot of games. And, Nick's talking about the health of the quarterback now. We're starting to see the age, a little bit of the wear and tear. They're going to have to really adjust the offense. I think one of the reasons why Brian Schottenheimer got this job is because they don't want to run Dak Prescott to another different offense. I don't think they want to run him to another scheme. And I think Brian Schottenheimer probably convinced the front office that I can tailor a scheme that could fit his skill set, but he's not the same player that he was, say, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, during that time, I think the Cowboys were able to find a lot of advantage of using his legs and mobility and being able to utilize him in the red zone and be able to have him escape and get in there and help score points for the offense. Now, I think that part of the game has been completely taken away. You go back to last year, they were not doing that with him. And then when it finally happened, it just so happened coincidentally that he gets hurt. So I think that now that that prompted that injury, even though when you listen to what he said during that time, he wouldn't blame the injury into the fact that he had to run. I think it's gonna be something that they will try to avoid the most as possible, and that's where you now are looking to rely more on a running back that is effective and that you can bring back that running game there, and that way you can avoid having to utilize your quarterback as a runner. So I think that now that element of his game has been taken away, not that he was a quarterback that ran all the time, but in key plays and key moments, it was very effective for the offense. So I think that that statement, I would say it's false.
All right, statement 2. Any decline in Dak's performance in 2023 was more related to the offense, particularly coaching, and the players around him, the offensive line and the wide receivers.
We're talking about 23 or 24?
24. Sorry, 24.
I'm sorry, can you run that back?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
please.
All right, sorry. Any decline in Dak's performance in 2024 was more related to the offense and coaching and to the players around him, the offensive line and the receivers.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of validity in that. I'll say true. The offensive line was a lot, especially when he was starting before the Atlanta game when he got hurt. Personnel around him was, and we talked about it on the show many times, the personnel around him did not help him, and the offseason last year did not help him to succeed. I mean, losing Tyron Smith is a big deal. Throwing a rookie over there and a rookie that was battling injury from the start of camp, it was going to be something that hurt the offense, and it hurt Dak Prescott, and it eventually physically hurt Dak Prescott. So I would say, yeah, that's true.
Everybody had a hand in this one. Front office had a hand in this, misevaluated the running back situation. They also misevaluated the second wide receiver on this football team. They believed in Jalen Tolbert, and he did not live up to the expectations that they had.
Also, Brandon Cooks getting hurt, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it just, but like I say, the offensive line, the right guard wasn't very good. The right tackle wasn't very good. You had problems. You had a rookie at left tackle. You had a rookie at center. I mean, I think the left tackle was more of a problem than the center. So, yeah, I think everybody, the front office, the coaches, the scheme, a lot of things did not play out very well, and all those things ultimately affected Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I would say true as well. I think looking at Dak's career overall, I would say everything around him had to be working for him in order for him to be successful. If you look at the beginning of his career till 2023, that was the first year, I feel like, in my opinion, that we were actually able to see a Dak Prescott take things on his own in certain games where he put the games on his back and he was making those plays for the offense and saving them in that way. And then all of a sudden 2024 happens. You see the struggles that the offense was having. Overall, I would say, yes, every coaching, I was not a fan of the play caller and the way that McCarthy was handling some of the situations happening on the field. And then the players, you look at certain plays where it was not on Dak. A lot of plays were on Dak, but then there's a lot of that were not on him, and it was execution for other players. And you talk about the protection there not being there, and Dak having to kind of continuously having to deal with the pressure. So, yeah, I think everyone had a hand in that one.
All right, third statement. With the changes to coaching, projected changes to the offensive scheme, and with new personnel, Dak will be closer to the 2023 production and version of himself than he was the 2024.
Are we assuming he's healthy? I assume in this sense. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's you want him healthy?
I'm going to go false. I'm going to go false because the personnel still is a question for me. They still need a starting running back. They still need reliability at that left tackle. I'm not saying that they need to go out and get a left tackle, but they need to prove that Tyler Guyton is ready to take on that challenge.
Yep.
Right guard, what's going to go on there? Brock Hoffman, I have confidence in, and I'm going to stand on the table for Brock Hoffman all the way through training camp unless he gives me a reason not to. I think he will be the starter at that spot, and he will be good, but he needs to prove it as well. So there's a lot of questions on the offensive side of the ball, and Dak needs people around him. That is the fact. And when he does have people around him, he returns to that 2023 production, and he is competing for an MVP, and he does have this team competing for a number one seed in the NFC. But without people around him, you see what what happened in the first 8 weeks of the season last year.
And I'd love to. I'm encouraged by the fact he's got a new play caller. I think he's going to have a new wide receiver out there with CeeDee Lamb, and I think he saw some things with Turpin. So maybe their 11 personnel stuff will be better. They need Jake Ferguson to play a lot better than he did last year. I think that would really help. Nick's absolutely right, though. They do not have a running back situation. I'm with him about liking Williams, but in a certain role. You go out and get this guy a wide receiver that could play opposite Lamb, that could also play with Turpin and help with Ferguson, and then you get him a legitimate running back. I think the offensive line stuff will take care of itself. I'm encouraged by the two coaches that are here. So I think he can play at that level at 2023, but it's going to be a lot of things around him have to improve. We said it, the tackle spot, the guard spot, the receiver spot, the tight end spot, and the running spot. Is that too much to put on Dak Prescott? You know, he's now the guy that, if you look at pay, if you watch his pockets, he is the highest paid guy. And there's going to be people say, well, he needs to go out there and play like that. So depending on if you're that kind of person or not, but he is going to need everything that I talked about to show up for him to have the season he had in 2023.
Yeah, right now I would say false as well, but that doesn't mean that it can't be true. There's just so much unknown.
True and false.
Well, oh my God.
It's a soft false.
True.
I'm back.
It's a soft false.
True or false? True or false?
I say, you can easily change my mind if you start showing it to me. But right now, I believe it until I see it. There's
You're
a
saying
lot of
false.
Yes, right now, false with the sense of hope for a true.
Okay.
Sports is fluid.
Yeah, exactly.
Say it with me. Soft false.
Strange lady, Brian. You never know.
Strange lady.
But no, there's just so much change that you don't really know what is actually going to happen. I will say this. Right now, this coaching change feels very different, like the changing energy. You feel a sense of freshness and newness. I don't even know if that's a word, but there you go. Schottenheimer, if you're around him, you just feel the energy and the desire to be here and really put in the work. I think he's doing just that, and I think when you do something like that, it's very contagious and it carries over to the team. So I feel that based on what we've heard so far in the offseason and the way that Dak Prescott has expressed himself in regards to Schottenheimer, I think he will put, not that he's not ever, he's always done that. He's always tried to do his best. But I think when you have that kind of relationship, you somehow just try even harder. You're there for each other. You work hard. You stay later. You put in those extra hours to get what you need to do. And I think the communication there is going to be a lot more effective. And therefore, I would imagine it just brings a sense of improvement as far as Dak's game.
Yep. All right. What should Dallas do to replenish the depth of the quarterback position after losing Cooper Rush to the Ravens and with Trey Lance still a free agent? What does Dallas need to do?
Oof, they're going to have to go get a guy in the draft that they feel confident can be that guy if Dak goes down for a couple of games. I mean, we talked about it a bit on the draft show yesterday. Is like, okay, yeah, you gotta go get starters at these positions. These are really important. So that's and Zach Wolchuk made a great point. He did. He was like, I need to go get starters at this point. I'm not necessarily worried about quarterback. But the sense of it is, and the thing I brought up is like, what if you start 10-3 and Dak goes down and you don't have a 5th round quarterback that you have to rely upon? Now, granted, he would have 13 weeks of seasoning, you would hope, but what does that situation look like? And then do you look back on the draft and be like, man, I wish I took one earlier? For me, if this team acquires another pick on day 2, that pick should be used to go get a quarterback.
Nick, tell me the places that Brian Schottenheimer is visiting. Tell me the schools he's going to.
Yeah, so he's at Ohio State today.
Okay, that's
Will Howard.
Will Howard's there.
Yeah, he'll be at Texas A&M tomorrow. There's no quarterback.
No quarterback there.
Friday he'll be at.
Hasn't been one there in a long time.
Say it again.
Just saying.
Friday he'll be at Ole Miss. Jackson Dart won't be available. For them.
Jackson Dart won't be available there.
But yeah, those would be the spots.
See, I thought that there would be a thing. There are coaches and stuff that have gone to Oregon and places like that. I think that Dallas is hunting. The one thing the Cowboys have shown me over the years, and even it goes back when I was in the personnel department here, we were always hunting for a quarterback. Not always successful. Didn't have the right mentality to do this. Didn't have the right focus to do this. But they do. They need to go get a legitimate guy. I think Nick's right about taking the extra pick, but you also need to go and look at, he's going to have his eyes on Will Howard. Is Will Howard a third, fourth round guy? You look at him and what he was at Kansas State, and then, what he's done at Ohio State. Tremendous player there. Quinn Ewers at Texas. I mean, where do you see Quinn Ewers? Dylan Gabriel from Oregon.
Like that
These
kid.
are all guys. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's a 5'11" guy that doesn't really have a lot of power to his game. But you're starting to, and I haven't mentioned like guys like Shuck and others that there's going to be some guys that they need to absolutely consider here. I just don't. I could say that they gave a 4th round pick for Trey Lance. They're always trying to hunt a quarterback. Go back to Connor Cook. Go back to the guy from Memphis there that they. I always forget this kid's name, but Peyton. Anyway, don't worry about it. Paxton Lynch. Sorry, Paxton Lynch. I knew I was going to get it. I was thinking of Peyton something. Paxton Lynch. They're always been trying to hunt quarterbacks here. So this, to me, is no different than any of their times. They've proven that they want to use resources to try and find that guy.
Okay, so I'm going to get a little crazy here. Give me a name of a player at quarterback that would drop in the first or the second rounds that would make you say, I would pull the trigger that early on a quarterback for this team.
If Jackson Dart's there at 44?
Yeah, sign me up. Let's go.
Is there anyone that would make you I'm assuming this wouldn't happen, but if either one of those top 2 quarterbacks dropped to you in the first round, would you pull the trigger in the first round?
No, I would not. Not with 4 years left on Dak's deal. Like if his deal was structured in a different way, where he maybe had 2 or 3 years, then yeah. But like you would be aligning that rookie contract with.
That's
Dak
why I
Prescott.
think like a Will Howard or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Even Milroe.
So really, 3rd, 4th is the earliest you guys would consider.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to look back, and I've even done this in my head. If Dak had not signed here, what quarterback would I want at 12? That's the game I play with myself. And when I'm trying to kind of feel like, who would I rather have? Would I rather have Sanders or would I rather have Dart? Because I don't feel like I'm going to have a shot at Ward.
Yeah.
And I might not have a shot at Sanders either. But I want in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I had the pick at 12, that's how I'm trying to line these guys up. Who would I take?
Since they took Troy Aikman with the first pick in 1989, they have only drafted 1 quarterback before the 4th round. It's Quincy Carter.
Quincy Carter, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's and you look at the quarterbacks overall that they have drafted since 01. You go Quincy Carter. Technically, they're counting Isaiah Stanback here, but he was a receiver. Stephen McGee in 09 in the 4th round. Dak in the 4th round in 2016. Mike White in the 5th round in 2018, and then DiNucci in the 7th round in 2020. That's it.
Wow.
So it's. Yes, they have devoted resources into finding, some of those backup quarterback type roles, but it's not a Green Bay where they go and get a quarterback every year, or they try to. I think in this draft you're going to have some guys there on day 3 available to you, but I also would not necessarily force it. The reason I say that is because veterans available. Do any of these names entice you? Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. Those would probably be the best names I could throw out as far as realistic backups.
Well, they like Will Grier. Obviously Will Grier.
That's a good. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Me personally, Will Grier could come in and probably be fine. I mean,
they may feel like he's Cooper Rush, their next Cooper Rush.
I don't. Nick, do you think they got blindsided by Cooper Rush signing somewhere else? Or were they?
I don't think so.
Were they okay with that?
I
think the same thing. I think they're okay. They're like, listen, let's just kind of move on from that.
They had already said that they were devoting resources into finding how to get younger at that position behind Dak. So I think that they were fully expecting that. And you talk about Will Grier, he's going to be 30 next year. Yeah. So he's not necessarily the quote unquote younger option.
Hey, watch it. Watch it.
Older for football terms. But yeah.
Old in general.
They need to go get they do need to go get
You know what? Your question was horrible, Derek. The question you posed with drafting a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, terrible question.
Why?
It's nonsense. It's not going to happen.
See, that's
what? No, here's what I was getting at. Here was the point of the question. The point of the question is
it's a good question.
The point of the question is like, do you really what would make you? Where are you with quarterback? Are you so starved for quarterback to where you're like, hey, if this guy gets to me, I don't care that I can't use him this year, maybe even next year.
Yeah.
I say pull the trigger. That's what I'm trying to get to. What is that level and what's that name for you?
Looking into their perspective, like I just feel like that just would not happen whatsoever. Not after the contract you just gave Dak.
See, you should never go into this thinking about building your football team because you gave a massive contract to somebody.
Why is that?
Never do that. It's about building your team. It's about having options. You don't know what's going to happen in week 5 or week 7 or week 10. You don't know. You got to find a way to protect yourself. And the whole idea is to go out and get the most talented players, regardless of the position. That's what we always talk about. One of the things that Dallas is really good at is when it's best available player. They go out and they get, and it seems to work for them. So to me, if you're looking at this and saying, I'm not going to sign a guy. If they go into this draft and thinking that they've got their big receiver in Mingo and don't take another receiver early in this thing, do we feel good about that?
No.
We should feel the same way about a quarterback. You should feel the same. Any position on your football team. Don't let contracts and stuff keep you from getting the best football.
But that's your scout mind speaking. But when you start looking at like all these numbers and contracts and like that does take into effect.
I lost my quarterback in week 8?
Yeah.
And my season was done. I mean, Cooper Rush came in and was serviceable. Give me a chance to win games. Give me a chance to be different. I mean, give me a chance to where I don't feel like that my team is going to completely fall apart.
Yep. And let's also throw this out there too. Every one of you guys in that first question that I asked about Dak Prescott, true or false, you all said false because of the injury.
Yeah.
If there are concerns about his health and if there are concerns about what that means for this season and going beyond that, then you better have a backup quarterback. And so if the question just becomes, how much do you want to invest in that backup quarterback? Do you want to invest a lot in that backup quarterback, knowing that at some point he will take over that role and maybe it happens before you get to the end of that contract? Or do you want to just say, hey, give me a Will Grier and I'll be okay? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out, is where that level of concern is with regards to the health of your starting quarterback. And that will dictate how much you're willing to invest right now in a quarterback.
But it's also when you look at all the other needs that you still have in other positions.
You're not
all fair.
You're not
all fair.
You're going to be able to fill needs. You cannot fill every need this football team has.
In the draft.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's never happened.
You absolutely can't. And so to sit there and say, oh, well, we're using a premium pick, you're not going to, we have too many holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have holes because you weren't very good and you lost and you did your best. That's why I gave him an A on the execution of trying to use signings and trades to their advantage. So that's they're doing what they need to do, but they're not going to be able to fill all the needs that they have in this team. Yep. And Derek, I think you even said, somebody said it was a 2-year thing, 2-year project. They still have a long way to go, but I don't think the draft is going to completely fill everything that they need.
I have a solution, guys. It's a guy who I think would work in this scheme. He's athletic. He can work out. He's a winner, and he's on the open market right now. Sam Ehlinger. Just go get him. Crickets.
I like Sam.
I like Sam. No.
I like Sam.
I was just trying to throw in some fun.
But no, thank you.
I'd rather go get Vince Young.
I like Sam.
Yeah, right. That would be a better option.
If you're gonna play with the Texas quarterback,
right? What are we doing?
I would take Vince Young maybe over Quinn Ewers right now.
Yeah, Sam. Love you, Sam.
Yeah.
Hook him. But no,
I wish
Colt McCoy. Can I do that?
I wish I could bottle up
bringing Colt McCoy back. Yes,
I wish I could bottle up all of y'all's faces. Y'all were like.
All right, final break. We'll be back. We'll see where we go in this final segment. We only got about 5 minutes. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Why are you losing it over there, Brian? What
I
are you
wish
talking
Nick
about?
had these players right. I'm just a little disappointed in you right now with some of these grades you got on these guys.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Who was
all
who was
play out.
closer to being more right last year?
Yeah, but we had our misses, right?
I felt pretty good about my board last year. That's all I'm going to say.
You ran pretty close?
I ran pretty good. And the only guy I really missed on was Bo Nix. That was
I think, yeah.
In what way you missed? Like,
I
he was a lot higher than you thought?
Yeah, he was a lot better than I thought he'd be. Yeah. But I can't really think of a huge. Malachi Corley was a miss for me last year.
If you do this long enough, you'll have a few of them.
Yeah.
Of
But
course. It's an
honestly,
exact science.
It was beginner's luck last year. I had a great year last year. But we'll got to keep it going.
Don't hurt your back.
Yeah, sophomore slump.
You get there.
Sophomore slump. It happens. We'll see.
We won't have time to get to safety. We'll do that on our next show. But real quick, I did want you to talk about one particular safety, Makuba out of Texas. Give me a scouting report on him.
Yeah, so a native of Zimbabwe, he moved to the United States when he was 9 years old. Got to know this kid pretty well during his recruitment out of Austin LBJ High School. A talented young player who chose Clemson over Texas in the sense that it was around the Tom Herman era. Clemson, he felt better about development at that time in the Dabo Swinney defense, and he certainly got it. Played 3 years in that Clemson defense, and was a key piece for them in that secondary. Battled injury, I believe, in his second season, but made his way back from that and was really productive and transferred to Texas and got better. And the defensive back development at Texas last year was awesome. And if you don't believe me, look at where all those coaches are getting hired now.
Yeah.
It was really strong. And you talk about Jahdae Barron being in at the corner spot. They had a guy in Michael Taff, who I think we're probably going to talk about next year on day 3.
Muhammad, yeah.
Malik Muhammad is another guy that's going to get drafted high when his time comes around. Really strong secondary, and Makuba kind of was helping to dictate what happened in that secondary. Makuba came in as the new guy, but he grew up playing with Jahdae Barron. He grew up playing with Michael Taff. I mean, these guys have a ton of experience together. You saw that experience hit the field immediately. Now, what does Makuba bring to you? He's a guy that has space on that back end. He's a guy that is quickly rising in this draft process. I think and maybe I do need to do a second evaluation, Brian, in the sense that I gave Makuba the eval right after the Cotton Bowl, and I put a 3rd round grade on him, but it would not surprise me if this guy ends up getting taken in the 2nd round. This surprises me that the Cowboys are taking him in for a 30 visit. because they still have Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson locked up. They just re-signed Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell to the depth of that position. Let's just say theoretically, like, hey, Makuba's available to you at you're not taking him at 44. So if he's available to you at 76, where does he fit in? I don't
think they're married to Hooker and Wilson.
I was about to say, like, I don't know. There's nothing that tells me they're
now. Maybe you'll tell me contractually there's something that you can't get out of and all that. But I'll say this about Makuba. I mean, when you watch him play, and I'll do this quickly, this is one of the best safeties in the country. When quarterbacks went after him, you look at the metrics and stuff about this guy. He was the quarterback rating, the fourth best in the country defending these quarterbacks and these receivers and stuff as a safety, and like 26% of his targets were incompletions. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this kid he's got the way he handles himself and stuff like that. I mean, he could really cover some ground as a safety. And I think that if you're the Cowboys, yeah, there's a guy. Boy, we got a guy that can play with some range, guy that can trigger quick, guy that plays on the ball, guy that can cover, guy that can tackle. Yeah, Andrew Makuba is a guy you absolutely need to study and consider.
The one concern I did have was tackling. I feel like his play strength probably could improve, especially at the next level. But you talk about his ball skills being range, everything, 6 interceptions.
He is built like a corner. He's 6 foot. Yeah. He's 186.
Is maybe that the thought process?
Yeah. You know what? We saw what that guy at Detroit does. You know, we saw what Brian Branch does. We saw the ability to play safety, play in coverage, play down, play. You know, I mean, this is a really twitchy kind of a player. I really like the change of direction, the burst, and things like that.
This is one of those instances where I think sometimes you get into the offseason and people start breaking guys down and looking at their size and their measurables. And I can tell you, says somebody that watched every single game at Texas that this guy played, he is a player. Like, he's one of those guys that just was around the ball all the time, always making plays. And those kind of guys, like, there's something to that in the game of football, knowing where to be, knowing how to get there, knowing how to make the play when you get there. I think that's one of the things I love about this guy. And I think whoever gets him is going to look back, and there's going to be a lot of teams going to be like, dang, we should have picked him, because I think he's that kind of player.
Nick, I think the media scouts, when I did a report, I think the media scouts were behind on this guy. I think the media scouts. I think the NFL teams. No. I'm talking about we're media scouts, but I'm saying I think a lot of guys and gals were behind on this guy. They're all learning he's a really good football.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week. We'll continue our player evaluation. We'll get into safety, a couple other positions. We'll see how that goes. Till then, for Nick Harris,
there's
Bryan
no way we're getting through the whole roster.
Be training camp.
We'll be at training camp, but we're gonna get there. And Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?